Hi, everyone. It's Dana with Remax and Dana Ortiz Homes. I want to welcome you all to my video series that focuses on the local real estate and mortgage information. For those of you that may not know me already, I am a local Orange County realtor and a 30-year resident of Mission Viejo, where I have had the honor of raising my two beautiful children here. I'm licensed for 15 years and associated with Remax Premier Realty for the last 8 years. I've specialized in residential listings, purchases, property management, and rental properties. I've had additional experience with 1031 exchanges, REOs, which are bank-owned properties, short sales, and selling and buying in senior communities. Today, I am here with a wonderful lady, a sharp, very proactive and experienced mortgage broker, Brigitte Archer of Oxford Capital. Hi, Bridget.
Hey Dana, how you doing?
Good, good. How are you? How was your Mother's Day?
It was wonderful. I got a little surprise on my doorstep.
Oh,
Social distancing, and it was a lovely surprise.
oh, that's wonderful. Well, good, good. I'm glad. And it was certainly a beautiful day for everybody. So a belated Happy Mommy's Day to everybody out there.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
Before we get started, I wanted Brigitte to give a little intro on her background and experience, but I also wanted to share the reasons I really enjoy and look forward to working with you. You and I share a very similar customer service oriented, approach dealing with our clients, and
Yeah.
also, a very proactive way of doing business. And I know, honestly, I can always count on you to be straight with my clients, give them the right information, tell them whether it's good, bad, or ugly, tell them like it is, and always to get the job done, So that's just, my reasons for really enjoying working with you. Right now, in our current, under the current COVID-19 environment, and with homeowners facing challenges and all that, it's a bit of a tough time. They have some decisions ahead of them they have to make. But today's topic, we were going to discuss on mortgages, forbearance versus deferment for their mortgage. But before we get into that, and I have some questions for you, I was hoping maybe you could just give us a little bit of background about yourself and your experience.
Oh, okay. Well, I've told you a long time ago that when I was a kid, I loved to be the banker in Monopoly. I think I'm naturally drawn to this. When I was in college, I worked as a financial analyst, a credit analyst, and then I segued into banking management, and then from there into being a mortgage broker with a brokerage company. I loved the idea of not being confined to just one bank's products and interest rates. Once I became a broker, it was very difficult for me to go back to standard banking. And and so that was in 82, I guess, when I started mortgage brokering. And then I started my own company, Dana, in 1988, Oxford Capital. And then 6 years ago, I joined the largest mortgage brokerage in the country called C2 Financial. And my motivation was that C2, being the largest, first of all, gets preferential rates and treatments with many lenders that were approved with more than 100 banks, credit unions, and mortgage lenders around the country. So I kind of had access to everything. And as you know, if the program exists, I should have it.
Yeah.
And good, bad, or ugly.
Good resource.
And
yeah.
then the other part is that I usually have the most competitive rates. I seldom get beat out on a rate. There are some scenarios that has happened when the person has a special relationship with their stock brokerage, stuff like that. But generally speaking, I've got the best rates. So that's what I love, what I do. And like you, Dana, it's something that happens to us, I think, over time. We tend to have clients that reflect us, and our business and professional relationships tend to do that. And that's why I think that, we cotton to each other with our clients, because we send a consistent message to them on the real estate side and on the lending side.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's like, people of like minds, we kind of flock together.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
And that tends to be the case with all of my referral partners, CPAs, financial advisors, and strong professional realtors like you. You're absolutely amazing with your clients.
Oh.
And I don't advertise, I never have, and I certainly don't buy loan leads from Lending Tree or any of those other companies. Every client's really a referral from another client or a professional partner. And for that, I'm really grateful. I absolutely love what I do.
Well, and it shows, and I can attest to that just from personal experience and comments from my clients that have worked with you. So if nothing else, I know you are a plethora of experience and information, and you can advise people accordingly. Well, now with that, it was funny on our topic today, again, which is forbearance versus deferment. I had read a stat on Friday that said that across the United States, that there were, I believe it was 7.3% of loans that were in forbearance, and of which those 10% were VA and FHA loans. So I didn't know, again, I'm reading this, it didn't sound like it was an overwhelming amount, of percentage-wise, but still, when you think about all loans across the U.S., that could still could be a substantial number of loans. Have you seen much of this in your practice or coming across your desk, or people you talk with?
I'm surprised that I haven't gotten more calls about it. I've had very few phone calls about it. I'd say 7% is a huge number. I mean, of all the mortgage in the country, I found an interesting fact recently as well, and that was that the Google searches for forbearance and deferment were at an all-time high end of March, and currently they're kind of less so. They're trending down. So there's an indicator maybe that so many people are not going for them as they were in the beginning.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. It's true. Well, and once you find out a little bit more about it, they may have elected not to go forward. So, yeah. All right. Well, so let me ask you, straight up, I guess, what is a forbearance for those people that may not really know or not understand it? What is a forbearance?
Well, first, let me just say that the difference between forbearance and deferment isn't really much of a difference. The interpretation is the same, actually, as it all has rolled out. So what a forbearance is that you make an agreement with the lender that because you are not employed or underemployed during this crisis, that you will defer payments for up to 6 months. And the lender, actually, foreclosures are stopped until the, foreclosures were not allowed until May 17th. So people can start foreclosing in 4 days according to the directive. But it is an agreement where the payments are set aside for 6 months. And then if you need it longer, then it can go out to 12 months. The deal is, though, it doesn't mean you don't have to make the payments. And it doesn't mean that the payments are going to get tacked on to the end when you refi or sell. In many cases, it means that they're going to restructure your loan so that you make that up in 12 months. So if you got a $2,000 a month mortgage payment and you don't pay it for 12 months, that's $24,000 that they'd like to see you repay in 12 months, and that's not going to happen for most people.
Not really.
So there are going to be more adjustments. And I don't have a lot of confidence in big banks when it comes to this stuff because of the way they performed in the meltdown years. But I'm hoping they learn from that and work out some things. Also, a forbearance can be converted into a modification. And a modification could even be an adjustment in the interest rate and payments. But bear in mind, Dana, there's no free lunch. These lenders are taking major losses because they are still paying interest on that money.
Right.
And they don't want all these losses. And as a result, you mentioned government loans. Jumbo VA loans, not jumbo, but high balance VA loans in Orange County, LA, and San Diego are over $510,000. The interest rates are crazy, and because there are no more VA lenders at the moment in that market, it's gone. If you want one of those loans, it's going to cost 3-4 points, which is $20,000, $30,000, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
And the same thing is true of jumbo loans. Wells Fargo and a few of the other big banks have completely suspended jumbo loans.
Yeah.
So they're tough to get. And the jumbos are the loans that are over $765,500.
Okay.
So that's what a forbearance is. It's an agreement with the bank to defer your payments for a period of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And hence a deferment, again, now ideally, again, a lot of people may think just from hearing that word, it's just simply deferring that payment, or a lot of people think that it's tacking it on to the back of their loan. But again, your definition of it, that may not be the case, correct?
That's correct. Every single institution is going to have their own policy. I think that the goal is, of course, to get the loans performing again. And so every bank has a set plan. I mean, Bank of America's got a just one-stop, plan for their clients, and other mortgage lenders are just kind of navigating the waters step by step, case by case. I imagine if a person has a lot of assets, they are not going to put the deferment to the end. But whether it's a deferment or a forbearance, whatever amount of money that's been deferred, whether it's tacked onto the end of the loan or in process of being paid, those will be paid off when a person sells their house or goes to refi. Which brings to mind something really important, Dana. The government says forbearances and deferments cannot be reported as late payments. But everything's not entirely truthful in that respect, because they're going to be reported as forbearances or deferments, not maybe late payments. And we don't know yet how lenders are going to look at making loans to people who have had the forbearance or the deferment. There may be a waiting period. A lot of things can happen. And because of that, again, for example, cash out mortgages right now, cash out mortgages are not going to be purchased by the Fed if they go into deferment after they're made. So the rates on those have gone really high. So everything's really kind of nuts. But the main point of our discussion is forbearance or deferment. And I suppose the real point is, do it if you must, and do not ask for it if you don't need it.
Okay. And that, one of my questions was kind of a basic, what's the basic process to even begin, or maybe a few of the right questions to ask. I mean, we can't cover everything in a brief video, and certainly every bank and every individual situation is going to be somewhat different, and they may have different questions. But just basically, where would you start?
I'll give you 3 points, really. 4 points. 4 points to cover, the main thing.
Sure.
The most important thing is, do not miss any payments. That's, back in the days of the meltdown, you were told you have to miss payments. It's not the case now. So do not miss payments. You have to be current at the time you requested, no more than 31 days late from the prior payment. And you cannot have been late more than one time since the national crisis was announced. Second point is, if you need a forbearance, immediately call your lender's servicing department. And that phone number is on the mortgage statement. They're very, very inundated right now, as you might imagine, but it's critical that you call as soon as possible to work out a plan. And then the third point is, get it in writing. Always get it in writing, because we are dealing with not attorneys or accountants. We're dealing with bank clerks who are following guidelines, and it's just very important to write that stuff down. And the fourth point is, do not request a forbearance if you really don't need it, because it's not necessarily the best thing for you. But if you need it, please don't hesitate. Make sure you call right away.
Sure. And then finally, one of the things I was going to ask you, which you touched a little bit on already, was, how or if this will ultimately affect a home buyer's FICO score and their ability to refi or purchase down the line. So again, I don't know if you're repeating or if there's anything new you can share, but it sounds like some of it is, we're really not sure yet,
Haven't set their guidelines yet. They haven't set up the policies.
Yeah.
I suspect that there will be some sort of forgiveness, but I just, I don't know if they'll treat it as perhaps a certain kind of bankruptcy, like a Chapter 13, where you pay the money back. But I guess I would say it's just really not known. Everybody can say it won't affect your credit, but it will show that that's what happened. I suspect that if a person, and I'm just projecting, if a person can show that they've always been on time with their mortgage before they've requested a forbearance, and that it was for a legitimate reason, like losing a job or being furloughed, and it can be documented as legitimate, I suspect after a certain waiting period or not, that person will be eligible for a loan. Now, what's it going to do to the FICO score and the credit scores? No idea.
Yeah, that's yet to be seen. And again, there's going to be other factors as well in a person's finances that will also could affect their FICO score, not just. I mean, if everything else was fine and the only issue they had was a possible deferment or forbearance, but there may be other challenges they're facing financially that could also affect the FICO score. So it's hard to maybe just single that out, when I ask that question. But all right, well, so again, so to kind of summarize what you're saying in a nutshell, I think, and correct me if I say something wrong, but first step, pay your mortgage if you can. If this is not something you really need to take advantage of, it's always best to pay your mortgage first. Second, if you find yourself in a position where you need to ask for help, then certainly reach out to your lender immediately, your bank, find out, wait online, whatever it takes, talk to somebody to advocate and let them know what your situation is. Number three, obviously you want to understand the terms of anything that they're, sending you. Make sure you understand it and that it's going to make sense and work for you, ultimately, to not put you in a worse situation when at the end of all this. And then, again, nobody can advocate for themselves better than themselves. So you have to be able to speak up, ask questions, go to resources that you have, such as your lender, for you example. So your real estate agent, whoever, people that can help you also and advise you, but definitely got to go talk and communicate with your bank and see if this is something that will work for you. I know that we're both trying to keep our videos somewhat short and informative. So if we didn't cover something or ask a question that maybe you might have, everyone out there in Facebook land, but I absolutely love and adore this woman, and I appreciate her taking time out of her busy day. So thank you, Brigitte. I love chatting with you. If anybody has any more questions or you'd like Brigitte's contact information, please feel free to private message me, email me, text me. Again, you can follow me on Facebook at Dana Ortiz Homes, on Instagram as well. Want to wish everybody a great week. As always, we'll continue with some other topics, and things are ever changing in this market. Bridge, I want to wish you a wonderful week. And I look forward to our next video topic. We'll have to discuss what we want to talk about next.
Oh, that sounds great. That sounds just wonderful. By the way, on the good news side, I just thought of something. Everybody's projecting an amazing housing market for purchases coming up. And it may be because of these forbearances. It may just be because if a person has 12 months to figure it out, they'll have plenty of time to list their home at a good price, but there's still quite a big demand. I think all of this is going to button up just fine, and I really appreciate you inviting me to this call. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, that may be another topic we're gonna have to hit on, is again buyers and what's out there for people that are looking actively. So absolutely. Well, everybody have a great rest of the week, and we will chat soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.